Good morning, everyone. It is 10 o'clock on the 9th of September, and today's class is Contacts, the heart of your database. I kind of mean that too, because contacts are really where everything happens. The more I work with Command and the more I work with others that are using Command, the more I realize how important contacts are to the big picture. And so that's what we're going to be discussing here today. This is the 101 series, and I'm Robert Vincent, your local I feel like I hate doing this. Hi, I'm Robert Vincent, your local Market Center technical trainer here at Market Center 463 in Portsmouth. But that's me. And I'm happy to be here with you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat here. I am monitoring the chat right now. There's also a little link in the chat there that has says click to add your name to the chat. Because I use multiple streaming platforms, we're actually streaming on Facebook Live and we're streaming right now on YouTube Live. So both of those are running as we speak. Because of that, I use a system called Restream. Forget all that technical garbage and jargon. It comes down to this. If you click that button, it will add your name across the platform so that I can actually see your name instead of just seeing Facebook user or YouTube user. So please feel free to join me there. And again, any questions that you have as we go through this, feel free to put in there and I'm happy to answer them as we go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start talking about what the relationship contacts have with areas in the program. And I can simply state it by saying that it's pretty much everywhere. So before we actually begin here, let's go ahead and take a quick little look at what we're going to be covering today. We're going to be talking about contacts and how they relate to everything in your database. So you can see here it says contacts, the heart of your database. That's the discussion that we're going to have on what things connect to where. The next thing we're going to do is take a look at the contact home screen. And on the home screen, what we're looking to do is understand what we can do there, how it kind of functions, some of the custom features that we can do to make it look the way we want it to look and work the way we want it to work. And also understand how to filter and sort and all those kind of cool things. Then we're going to go through the Add a Contact dialog box. And in the Add Contact dialog box, I'm going to cover pretty much everything that you can in there to show you how important all of those components are. After we complete a contact, we're going to look at the contact card for our brand new contact, and we're going to see what's in there and some of the additional information that we can add to completely round out the information available for that contact. And then we're going to look at all of the different information that we've created, all the different information we can add, and then we're going to talk about what we can do with that contact. So there's quite a bit going on. We do have an hour for today, and again, please feel free to ask any questions in the stream, and we'll get you guys going there. All right, so I'll come back over here. Hey, it's me still here. How you doing? Let's take a look now at working with the contacts. So I'm going to open up the screen here, and I'll switch around to show the correct one because I've got all this stuff going on. There it is. So we're looking at the command main dashboard here. I have not gone into contacts yet. We're just looking at the main interface here. And when we look at this, we can see that on the left-hand side, once again, this is the 101 series. So some of the stuff that I talk about here might feel like you've heard this before, but repetition is the key to success in terms of learning. And so hopefully some of these things will, even though there might be something you've seen before, it'll add to it and make more sense. All right. So when we're on the home screen, when we look at that little KW in the upper left-hand corner here, when we click that, we can actually see the names of all of the different applets that are available that we can use in the program. And you'll notice that right underneath the dashboard, which is what we're looking at here in the middle, there's the contacts. And the contacts are there for a purpose because we really can't do anything until contacts are in there. We cannot email a contact, call a contact, add an opportunity or a transaction for a contact. We can't do anything unless a contact is in the database. So that's the primary thing we're going to be focusing on today. Where does it connect? Well, if we have a contact, we can create tasks that are related to that contact. We can also create tasks related to opportunities, which in turn are related to contacts. So not only are we talking about tasks that we need to perform, which by the way, we can create a task that is not related to an opportunity, which is something to remind ourselves to do. But tasks are generally related to contacts. Smart plans. Smart plans go out to contacts. What is a smart plan? A smart plan is that marketing tool that automates itself so you can send out an email, send out an SMS message, repeat an email, add them to neighborhood marketing nurture programs, all these different things. But they're all related to contacts, right? You can't send out a smart plan to nobody. Got to have a contact. Referrals. When you refer a contact to another agent, you are working with a contact. So far we're 100% here. Opportunities kind of goes without saying. We need a contact in order to even create an opportunity. You can't have an opportunity floating around in the middle of nowhere, so we need to be able to create that opportunity, and that means we're going to be doing it via a contact. Campaigns go out to our contacts potentially. But campaigns can also go out to our social media and other sources, other destinations, I should say. They call them channels specifically. But the campaigns can include email campaigns to our contacts. All right, reports on how our contacts are looking. What's the health of the contact? What's the opportunities that we've got going on? A lot of different things about the health and the reporting are in the report section. Designs don't necessarily have to do with a specific contact. However, designs can include targeting designs where we are actually creating designs for individual contacts, like an email campaign, creating an email that refers to a specific person by name. No problem. The listings area is probably the only area that doesn't specifically deal with a contact. It roundabout does, because in a way we're talking about a listing in an MLS, and eventually the name of the last buyer in the MLS is going to be in there. But that's a little bit of a stretch. I'll give you that. In the consumer area is very much involved with the contacts in our database, because we're talking about connecting with people via the mobile app or connecting with them via the KW consumer app. There's a lot going on in here that specifically has to do with our contacts. So there it is. I mean, that is the relationship of contacts to pretty much every facet of what's going on inside of Command. And I'll kind of close this out by adding one more thing here. When we're looking at our profile, and I'm talking about our marketing profile. So if I go up to my profile icon, I choose settings here. I can see that in the settings area, if I click on connect settings and choose marketing profile, what I'm seeing here is the information that my clients are going to see, because I've entered this information here. So inside of the marketing profile, anytime we reach out to one of our contacts, this is the basic information. It doesn't mean they're going to see every single thing that we have in here, but it does mean that all of this information is potentially usable in our marketing to our contacts, both known and unknown, people that we know and people that we don't know yet or haven't spoken to yet. Okay, so there's a lot, and I know that when you initially think about it here, you might say to yourself, well, you know what, I don't really use the contacts that much. Well, if you're not using the contacts, then you're not using the database. And I mean that seriously, because you can't create a transaction without a contact. So you are going to have to use contacts at a minimum. But there's so much in here to offer. There's so many tools available to you. If you take the time to completely suss out all of the different information about your contacts. And that's literally what we're going to be talking about next. So let's go to the contact home screen and see how much the information that we put into the contacts can kind of give us information back. You know, it's that old garbage in, garbage out. I don't like to use that too much, but at the same time, it's true. If we don't have enough information, then we can't gain enough information. In the immortal words of whoever said it, you know, don't start nothing, won't be nothing. If we don't create something, we won't get anything. So we have to really think about what's important to us and what we're going to be using our contact database for. So here on the contact screen, this is the main contact dashboard, if you will. And if you are a member of a team, you may see your team contacts here. If you are a solo agent, you will not see team contacts. You will just see your contacts here. And I only bring that up, noticing, we're not really talking about teams in this session right now. But keep in mind that you have to be in the right place if you're in a team as an agent to make sure that you see the contacts. And that's something to really keep in mind. Okay, now down below the section that designates that we are now looking at my personal contacts, we have a search dialog box. By default, the search dialog box is going to search for everything. And what I mean is everything. So if we type in a phone number, we can search for it. If we type in an email, we can search for it. So we can type in anything we want here and use that as a search tool to get what we're looking for. If you narrow the focus by using one of the checkboxes up here, like for example, first name, you'll see that everything is unchecked and now we're focused on just the first names. So that can be a little restrictive if you're not sure exactly how somebody spells their first name or somebody spells their last name. So if you have one of those two elements, if you use everything, it'll be a little easier. I like the everything because it really does allow you to search everywhere. And it doesn't matter, you don't have to specify what you're searching for. So that search dialog box is very, very powerful. The next thing over here is our filters. Now, when we click on filters now, we get a little, what's called a drawer. In software terms, that little flyout is called a drawer. And I'll show you again here. You click filters and the drawer slides out. Some people kind of call it a pop-up, but it's called a drawer. There's your technical term for the day. So in this drawer for filters, we can use all of these different tools to kind of get zeroed in on the contact that we're looking for. We can use tags, company, created by, and a date range here, longer than or within. We can use lead source, where did we find this person? And if you've worked with me individually, you know that I always talk about lead source in terms of where did the contact come from? And this is a way for you to quickly say, okay, so all of the contacts that came to me via my own relationship with them, my sphere of influence. If I choose agent here and I put that in, you can see that I have 2 people in here that came to this database because of their direct relationship with me. Yeah, I met Thomas Jefferson a couple of years ago. We were at a party, and it was just, it was a low key party, and we were sitting there having a couple of drinks together, and it was really a good time. So I met him through that party, so I put him in my database because of that. Now, Thomas Dolby and I go way back. We used to work on electronic music together back in the 80s, but again, that's just a personal relationship there. So I can come back to my filters and I can turn that off and see the lead source. Now, if you were using, for example, Facebook, and you were getting leads from Facebook, and you wanted to see all of the leads that you've received from Facebook. You have Facebook ad leads, Facebook pages via marketing, Facebook custom audiences. I'm going to choose an ad. Now, I'm not going to see anything here because I don't have any ads that are actually running. So, of course, this is telling me, yeah, you haven't got any. But if you are running ads and you wanted to see all of your Facebook leads that came from those ads, you can use that lead source as a tool. So this information, we're going to be going over it when we talk about building the contact record and looking at those contacts. But remember, the end game is what we talk about in order to build the game plan. I use this all the time when people are saying, I want to do some marketing. Well, okay, that's great. What are you trying to say? What is the final result of what it is that you're looking to do? And these filters and these tools that we have available to you here to manage your contacts, if you don't have that information in there, you may not be able to reach the goal that you've set for yourself with regards to your different contacts. So we go over this in the beginning to show you some of the things that we can do. And then I'll be going over a contact individually to make sure that you understand where to put that information so that it becomes relevant and valuable to you. So without going through the rest of these, you can kind of see on the screen here that there's a lot of other different fields that we can use as filters. But more importantly, if you're looking at this going, yeah, I want to make sure that I know that I'm using the neighborhood tools properly. So if that's something that's important to you, and it should be because it's a very simple marketing tool, then you want to make sure that you designate neighborhoods. And so let's look really quickly at how many people in my database have neighborhoods. And I have a total of 71 people in my database of 1,000. Not a very good ratio, but 71 people in my database have neighborhoods associated with them. So all of these people can be instantaneously added to the neighborhood nurture program. End of story. Because we took the time to think about it. Now, I'm going to turn this filter off here. I'm going to clear the filter at the bottom of the filter drawer here. I'll hit apply and it will return this back to normal. So again, I'm telling you all this stuff in advance of creating a contact, because if we don't understand how to use the contacts, then when we build a contact, it almost becomes like, well, what's this for? Why am I going to use this? Well, tags, for example, we want to be able to group our people together by tags. This allows us to market more surgically, more specialized. So if I have a Dover tag here and I click on Dover in the middle of this, I can see all of the people that I have marked with a tag for Dover. Now I can also remove that tag and start again. Excuse that little off-air sneeze there. And so I can reset the filters and go by tags manually, or I can just click on this and say, hey, show me all the people in my database that still have a Gmail account. So now I can look at this thing and say, okay, I'm going to contact all the people that have Gmail addresses and let them know I'd love to get their brand new KW emails into my system. So little things like that, using this to kind of filter down and search for people. So it's an additional tool available to you. All right, so in this home screen here, we can do some customization. We can customize the columns to rearrange them so that they make sense for us. So to customize our columns, we click the Customize Column button here, and it opens up the dialog. All of the check boxes on the left indicate what columns are currently visible. The ones that are unchecked are the ones that we can add to our view. And on the right-hand side of the currently visible fields, we can rearrange them by clicking and dragging them to organize them the way we want. When we do this, I'll go ahead and rearrange them by tag really quickly to show you something that happens. When I do that, the filter is actually on. Let me turn off the Gmail filter here so that I can get rid of that. Apply, and we'll come back in here, and now my tags are listed first. If we leave this page without saving this view, we're going to lose it. It's going to go back to the default view, whatever the default view is. So we can save the Smart View changes if it's a default view, or we can create a new one. And there are bunches of different views that were created by KW for you, and some that you can create for your own uses. Maybe you want to see all of the people who have a primary email address of @kw.com, or maybe you want to see all the people that you've contacted in the last 30 days, or people that you have not contacted in the last 30 days. You can set up all that information, all of that filtering and sorting and all that stuff inside a custom view. And that way you can say, today I'm working on the people that I haven't contacted in a month. And boom, you pull up the view and it's basically an instant report saying this is what's going on. Okay. Love this tool, love it. And when we talk a little bit deeper about contacts, in some of the other classes that we do, I go a little bit more into showing you how to kind of think about how to customize those views. All right, over here on the far right-hand side, there's basically showing you how many contacts you have in your database and how many you're looking at by default. So the default is that it will show you 10 contacts at a time, and that means you'll have to scroll down to the bottom of a page, and then to get to the next page of contacts, you come up here and you hit the next page, and it will show you the next 10 contacts. Now that's a very fast way of working, and in a smaller database, it doesn't really matter because you don't have a lot in there. But when you get up to the point where you've got 1,000 or 2 or 5 or 10,000 people, if you want to go and see a lot of them at one time, or if you want to speed things up, you can do it either way. So showing a lot of contacts at one time might slow the database down just a tiny bit, just because it's trying to load a lot of information. So if you've got a lot of contacts and you only need to see a few at a time for speed, you can choose a number in between here and make it a little bit more manageable. If you don't have a lot of contacts and you want to see them all at one time, just choose a number that kind of makes sense. Now remember, you can actually store this view, and I'll show you a little something here. If I refresh my page, My database is set up so that when I come in here and look at the contact screen, it's always showing me the maximum in one view, 500 at a time. Which means I can slide through this thing and I've got 500 contacts on one page that I can look through. Now, do I need that many to visually see? No, but I like it for organizational purposes, being able to bulk add people to emails, bulk add them to smart plans, do a bulk adding of tags. It's a way for me to manage a large amount of data very quickly. That's a kind of a geeky thing. You may not need that. Using it at 10 might be something that's totally fine for you. And that's the default view anyway. So that's something you can kind of work with. All right. So that's what's going on in terms of, the ability to filter and sort and manage what's going into the view itself. But let's talk about the contact names that are in the view. So we have a contact name here, and you'll notice that when I hover over the information like the contact name, by the way, the name field is always on the left. You can't move that. That's going to be always there. Anytime you hover over one of these, you can actually click on it and, of course, open up the view for that specific record. Kind of makes sense. You can also click on phone numbers. When you click on a phone number, Mac or PC, it will ask you, do you want to call this person or do you want to text this person? Say what? So you can automatically pull up a call or text. Now, if you're on a Mac, it will automatically try to use your FaceTime. And if you haven't used FaceTime audio on a Mac, we're not talking about putting a video up there. We're talking about just making a phone call to a cell phone from your Mac. If you have not done this, the cell phone audio quality through FaceTime is awesome. If you have problems with, you're at your computer, your home or wherever, and the cell quality for your signal is not so good, use this and the quality of your audio will dramatically improve. I love that about the using FaceTime here. I actually use, a nice microphone, and I use Google Voice, which is another service that uses very high quality audio for phone calls. In addition to phone calls for audio, you can also text. If you have subscribed to the Twilio texting service, you can text directly from here, from your screen on your laptop in your office. You can text without picking up your phone, without having to go and open up messages and find a phone number. You can text someone directly from here. That is a very powerful tool. Especially in the modern world, a lot of people go by texts. And all we did was just clicked on the phone number that we had, which is why we need a phone number. Kind of makes sense. The same thing with the emails here. When we come over to the emails, you see that right now I can't click on these emails in this window here, but we will be able inside of the contact to send an email directly to someone. So those two main fields, though, phone calls and opening up the contact card, are right on the left-hand side, in my view, because I've created a little view here for that. So this information, instantly accessible, very, very quickly and easy to use. So that is all coming from, of course, the contact itself. So let's go ahead here. I'm going to go ahead and search for my favorite little contact that I use for demonstrations. And I've got a little contact named Jackie Astuto here. So I searched for Jackie. I clicked on Jackie's name and it opened up Jackie's contact card. This is called a contact card. So this contact card is the information that we have added and the history of this entire relationship with this contact. Now, before we actually start going down through all this data, and you can see there's a lot of information here, we are going to create a contact from scratch so that you can experience what it looks like to actually build a contact in your database. Now, we're not talking about importing. Importing is a tool where we can actually import hundreds and thousands of people into our database at one time. After we create this contact, then we will be able to detail the contact out and start using the contact for our transactions. So to create a contact, over on the right-hand side of your screen up here, there's an import button, an add contact button, and for those of you wondering, there is also, of course, an export option for your contacts. If you want to go and look at your contacts in a spreadsheet, which is a great way to kind of get a 10,000 foot view of your contacts. You can export them into an Excel file. That's going to be a separate class, though, importing and exporting, because there are some rules and some guidelines that you need to know. But this is a nice way to know that you can do that. Okay. But what we're interested in right now is, of course, the add contact. So we're going to go ahead and click on add contact. I'm going to close out the little wizard that pops up there, because I'm your guide for today. So when we look at this, what we have is a contact form. And the contact form, when you initially look at it, it doesn't look like there's much going on here. There's a few fields and there's a create button down here. But this is actually a very detailed form that we can use to create a contact initially and have a robust set of information to be able to reach out to these contacts later on. So the first thing we're going to do is start with the name. There's not a separate field for first name and last name. It's just name, full name. So we want to make sure we put the full name in here. So we're going to do George Washington. Now, I separated the first name and the last name with a space, and we can use this. Now, this is the name, by the way, that is going to appear on contracts. Literally, when we create an opportunity and we have a transaction involved, that's the name that's going to appear on the contract. There is a field, and you'll see it in a few moments, where we have the option to enter a legal name. So George might be, we might call him G. And then so you could put him in here in your database as G Washington, OG Washington. And that's how you refer to him on a daily basis. But on a document, you can have a legal name that will actually show the legal name for this particular contact. But keep in mind that this name right here, as it stands now, is going to be the name that would appear on a contract. Do not enter both a husband and wife or two people that are related as a single contact. Do not enter George and Martha Washington, because that's telling the system that one person's name is George and Martha Washington. That's not how it works. All right, we don't want to do that. So make sure that each contact represents a single person. So that's a very important part of what we're covering here today. Now, if we wanted to add Martha Washington to our relationship with George Washington, we can click Add a Relationship here, and we can designate the kind of relationship: mother, father, son, brother, sister, child, partner, all the way down through here, other. It doesn't matter. We have a lot of choices here on what the related contact can be. Now, there's two ways to create a related contact. One is to find another contact. So let's say we're looking for another contact here. So I come in and type in Jackie, and there's all of the people in my database with those letters in their name. And I could pick someone here from the list and add them. Now remember, Jackie Astuto, we looked at a moment ago. There's full information on Jackie Astuto. So I'm relating a fully filled out card to another person, another record in my database. If I don't have someone in the database, Martha Washington, if I don't have Martha Washington in the database, I can actually say add. So Martha Washington. So now notice, though, that when I do this, if I click add, I am only adding Martha's name to the database. There isn't any other fields here for phone number or email or anything like that. All I'm doing is adding the name of a person to the database and getting the bonus of creating a relationship between George Washington and this new contact. If you do this, make sure that you go back to the newly created related contact. In this case, we're talking about Martha Washington. And go back in there and fill out the rest of the information for Martha. And I'll show you how we can do that. I'm going to go ahead and create the relationship of Martha, and I'll hit add. So now Martha Washington has already been added to the database with no data, and I'm still working on George. Come down here to the primary email address, and we're going to give George an email address here. foundingfather@usa.com. Oh, I could put gov, but I don't want to actually put that in there because for all I know, somebody has that. So foundingfather@USA. Now, there's only one option here for an email in this slot, And we have to determine what it is: primary, personal, work, or other. Now, we will have an opportunity in a moment to add additional emails to this contact, up to a total of 5, this one and 4 more. All right. So the primary phone, same thing here. We can click this and drop it down and choose whether this is personal, mobile, home, cell, work, or other. And so I'm going to go ahead and so it's going to be 603-555-9876. Fine, that'll do. And that will be George's personal phone number. Okay. Now down below here in the next step, remember I talked about where these leads came from, and we were able to filter our master contact list by where we got those leads. This is where we can choose that. Select from a list for the lead source type. Now, if it was one of these things where I got it via an import from Zillow or from Facebook or from some other place like that, I would designate that here by selecting it from the list. There is a very large lead source list already built into the system. When you scroll through here, you're going to find about 70 or 80 different lead sources. The number one lead source when you're creating a contact like I am manually is via the agent, how you came across this person. So I'm going to select that this time. But remember, if you are importing something, a bunch of people to your database, you can specify the lead source for them as they're being brought in. If they're automatically coming in from Zillow or Facebook or any other Realtor.com, whatever, if they're coming in from there, you can specify that on the import process from those lead sources. And that's something that's a little bit more advanced than we're going to cover today. But know this, you will always be able to keep track of where your leads came from. Additionally, if the lead source, if George Washington came to us via one of the other contacts in our database, we can specify that here. Maybe I was talking with Thomas Jefferson and he said, you know what, you should talk to my buddy George. I can come over here and select from contacts and put in Thomas Jefferson as the source for George Washington as my new contact. All right, so down a little bit further here, we have two things that we're going to talk about. One of them is going to be important. One of them is absolutely not. The mark as a lead. There's a little bit of a misunderstanding sometimes of what the difference is between a lead and a contact in our database. And it's important to know that a lead, very simply, is somebody that we have not earned the right to talk to or converse with yet. A lead is an unmet. Period. Put that in the book, close the book. Okay. Lead is somebody we have not met, but we need to. So we need to reach out to them. So we can define people as a lead and then work our leads accordingly. If you leave this unchecked, then you are basically stating that you have contacted or have had some interaction with with this contact, and you are in a position where talking with them is fully acceptable, and they've given you the right to speak to them and work with them on a transaction or whatever. So you always want to manage that, because we don't want to have a high number of leads that we're not working. If we do have an import and they come in as a bunch of leads, then we want to start focusing on getting those leads contacted and turn them into contacts by just unchecking this when we have earned the right to speak with them. So mets and have not mets. That's what this is basically at. So if I check this, I'm signifying that I have not met George Washington. But if I'm not mistaken, the lead source here, I said it was from me, the agent. I would be contradicting myself if I put a checkbox there, because I already knew him. That's how he got to the database. So I'll leave that unchecked. And next one here is add to sales pipeline. I will simply say this: ignore this. Do not use it. End of story. It's an old tool that doesn't apply anymore because we have much better, faster, more efficient ways to create pipelines or opportunities for our contacts. All right. So don't worry about that one. Now, this one's important, but it may not be something that you know at the beginning of your database. And this is a 101 class. So you might look at this and go, I'm not sure what to do with tags. I want you to think very simply. Tags are tools to group people together into these labeled objects called tags, folders. I got a folder full of people, a bunch of people that I have tagged that are interested in the town of Portsmouth. That's an easy example of a tag. I have a folder full of people that I have met through an open house that I want to specify that they were from a specific open house or in general just open houses that I have put on. Here's a folder full of those contacts. So now I have two folders. People who like Portsmouth and people who have visited open houses or that I have seen at open houses. Now I can market to them separately and uniquely. The people in Portsmouth, I can market to them now with properties that are available in Portsmouth. People that are open houses, you attended an open house, here's the next open house that I have. So I can market to them appropriately. Tags help you do this. One of the classes we have coming up is tagging your database and organizing it. And we'll be going into much more detail about that and how to use it. For now, I'm going to put in here that this is very simply, I'm going to create a new tag, and it's kind of like, where did I find them? Yes, I know that I've established that I know George Washington, and he is not a lead, he's a contact, but he falls into the group of government. So I can keep track of all of the people that I have met through government and maybe give them a nice color here and add that tag. And now I have a government directory of all the people that I've met that work in government, and I can target them marketing-wise in the sense of all of those people in a folder for government. Maybe I want to look for talking to them about government housing, so veterans' homes or something like that. So I can do this using these tags. Very, very powerful stuff. And in the tag class, I'll show you how to create a tag structure using not only groups, but also the color codes and how to build a tag structure that makes sense for you. Okay, so that's it for the main fields here, but there are other fields at the bottom of the screen here, and it says add more information. A lot of people forget to click this. They don't do it. They skip right by this and they hit create. Now that's all fine and dandy because at least you've got the basic information. But if you really want to populate the database with valuable information, we're going to go deeper. So we're going to click on add more information. And when we do that, we get three new sections down here. Additional contact information, an about section, and a custom section. So just kind of defining it, the custom section literally is for fields that you create either for a specific individual or for groups of people, all of your contacts. So custom fields allow you to enter information that's valuable to you that was not provided as a field for you to use by the standard fields. So we're going to skip that for right now. We're going to skip about just for a second, and we'll come back to that. And we're going to start at additional contact information. So when I click that, I'm going to slide down so that you can see it nice and slow here what was actually added. Remember, the last thing that we did was tags. So I'll move the tags to the top of the screen. And now we have additional contact information. Here, we can specify a preferred method of contact, including a do not contact. So if this contact is expressly said, please don't contact me anymore, you can do this here, do not contact. And the nice thing about this is you don't have to delete them from your database. You have them. So if something comes up in the future where they change their mind, you can undo it. Specifying email, phone, or text. So I'll go ahead and choose email here as the primary method of contact. Here's where I mentioned that we can have additional emails, and we can have a total of 5. By just clicking the add email, we can add additional emails here. The same thing with the phone number. Add an additional phone number. We can have up to 5 of those there. 4 in this section and 1 at the top. Down below the phone number and the email, we have our addresses section. To discuss this, let's talk about what these contacts mean to us in terms of our business. When we are a real estate agent, we're looking at buying and selling homes, okay? When we talk about the address for this contact, this is not necessarily the address of the property to be sold. In many cases, it might be. The primary address of this contact might live at the address that is going to end up in the listing. It makes a lot of sense. They're going to sell their home. But if you're dealing with somebody who's a real estate investor and somebody who is buying and selling multiple different properties in different locations, what is the primary address for them? Is that their personal home address? Is that their business address for this investment? Or are you dealing with maybe a mother and father, or I should say, a mother and father, parents who are selling a home or buying a home for one of their children or one of their relatives? So this allows you to specify information about where to contact them regardless of the transaction. If they are selling their home and their primary address is the same address, then you'll want to put in that information now because the home is not sold yet. But when the transaction occurs, you'll need to come back here and enter the new address for them and update this to where they now live. All right. This applies for their primary address and their mailing address. Maybe they are selling the house that they're working on with you right now, and that's the primary, but they have a mailing address set up to go to a P.O. box for the next 4, 5, 6 months or whatever, so that they can get their email after the house is sold to make sure that nothing gets lost. That's a smart way to do things. So we can add a mailing address, and that mailing address can be the same, or we can add that separately by clicking on Add Address. Okay. Now down here at the bottom, underneath the address section, we have a section of one of my favorites called Social Profiles. I hate the name, Social Profiles. I like to think of this as online presence. What is this? This is a way for us to designate an address on the web with valid information that we need to process or work with this contact. Now, because it says social profile, people immediately think of the default value of Facebook. Not so much. I'm not really worried about getting their Facebook URL, but I am thinking in terms of maybe there's a business that they have, or maybe that they have their own personal web page. Maybe there's some information that we need to use in our transaction with them that will kind of make sense about being able to access that while the transaction is going on. How about the MLS listing? We can put the MLS listing as a URL in here for this property. Now, it will be available in other areas, but at least we'll put it at the root value for the contact should we need to be able to get to that information. So adding something like an MLS listing URL. Maybe it's the page with all the photos. Maybe it's a Dropbox containing all of the different documents that we've been working with for this client. Lots of different things that we can do with this. It's not something that you need to use right out of the gate, but I want you to be aware of it because it is a very powerful tool. All right. Next up here in the About section, we'll go ahead and click on this, and we see now there's that legal name I was talking about earlier. So if it's George Washington, and maybe his legal name is George, Georgina Washingtonia. Who knows? Georgino Francis Washingtonia. Now see, this is what happens. Georgina Washingtonia. That's his formal name. Description here, and then birthday. Now, when you get into the birthday in here, what you're looking to do primarily is get a date with the month and the day of the month. The year is not so important, okay? The reason it's not so important is because it's very hard to get sometimes. You may not be able to get the full birthday out of somebody. But if somebody says, yeah, my birthday is April 24th, you put that in here. Go ahead and put 2021. Doesn't matter. We're not looking to send them a card that says, hey, congratulations, you're 1 year old or 2 years old. What we're looking to do is send them a birthday card that says happy birthday. And the birthday value here is tied to one of the pre-built smart plans called birthday smart plans. Now, this allows you to be notified about I think it's a week in advance of someone's birthday so that you can send out an email or a card or physical card, something to acknowledge their birthday. So this will set up those automatic reminders. The same exact thing applies for their home anniversary. This is the date that they closed on their home. Now, in this case, what we're trying to do once again is send out a nice, happy home anniversary to you. We're not worried so much about the year, although you will probably have that information from the closing documents. This way you can kind of say, okay, you've been in your house for 3 years now. So this is also hooked up to a smart plan called the Home Anniversary Smart Plan. And this allows you, once again, to be notified through the system that an anniversary is coming up for one of your contacts. By doing so, you can then communicate with them. And as we know, the database, your sphere, the database itself is the most important marketing tool that you have. These tools will help you market more efficiently and keep yourself top of mind with them as they go through their life. You will always be their real estate agent by using some tools like this. Now, down at the bottom here, a little bit further, we have relationships. I mentioned that we can have additional people added as related contacts to this particular one. In this case, we can have, I believe, another 4 more here, plus the one for Martha Washington. And again, the same rule applies here. If I add a spouse not a spouse, if I add another related person here manually and I click add, it's just going to add the name to the database. It is not going to add all the information. So you'll still have to go back through the other side and connect them, add the information. But here you can connect them together. So you can have a family of people all put together into a single contact and related together. All right. The last fields down here are your company name and job title for where they work. This little guy here, company name and job title, are the final 2 little tools that are going to complete your database health or your contact health. All of the stuff that we've done above is important and it is going to add to the health of your contact. If you can come up with the name of the company that they work at and their job title through conversation, this will complete and you'll get to 100%. You will have all the potential information to make a 100% health score for your contact. Can you get that information? Maybe, maybe not. But if you are able to get it, put it in here and it will round out all of the information about your contact. I'll go ahead now and click create. So that was the entire, see, I got that phone number. How did I possibly put the same phone number here? Let's do another one here. I had the same phone number. The database checked the phone number, said you can't do that. Somebody else with that phone number already exists, which is really weird when you think about it. How did I randomly come up with 2 contacts that have the same phone number when I was just making them up? Pretty cool. All right, so here we are. We finished the contact. The contact has been added to the database, and I'm going to go ahead and type in George and see what I've got in my database for George. So here it is, George Washington, founding father, USA, government. There is my contact. So brand new contact added to the database. Now I can do anything because I have that contact. Now, yes, I've talked for about 30 minutes on the contact creation process, but to be fair, you will probably take about 1.5 minutes to create this contact card without listening to me yammer on about all the things that are available in here and what they do. But now you know. You know now that creating a contact with as much information as possible is going to increase the health score and give you more ways to contact them and stay in touch. So here's the contact card. Everything that we just covered. There's the name. We have whether they are a lead or not, the tags that we've assigned, the phone number, the email address, where they came from, and in this case, who is the owner of this contact, and it has to do with teams. I'm a solo agent right in this moment, so it's me and I own the contact. I have not added any neighborhoods yet to this contact. If you added an address, a primary address to a contact, it would use the primary address of the contact and automatically generate for you a neighborhood. I'm going to quickly go ahead and create a neighborhood here and show you Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I'll do the Shelburne neighborhood. Boom. So I've got a neighborhood associated with them, and that has dictated that they're ready now to be assigned or added to a neighborhood nurture program. That simple, just finding a neighborhood for them. A little bit further down here, here's that information about the preferred method, additional emails, phone numbers, home addresses, mailing addresses, and the legal name. So we have a legal name down here that we can use. The rest of the information, social profiles, I didn't add any in here. We have description, birthday, and home anniversary. And there's Martha. In the relationship area, we have Martha. If I wanted to, I could click on Martha Washington. It will load up Martha Washington's contact card. And now from here, after it loads, of course, it's taking its nice sweet time, I can edit Martha's card to include her phone number, her email address, and all of the other information, right? And when I'm done, I can click right back down to Martha's related contact in relationships and go back to George and see George's. Now I can flip between them without having to go back to the main screen because they're related, so they're working together. Okay, that is 80% of what we're going to do in this class. Now let's talk about the last few things here. One of the things I had mentioned was that we're going to be doing viewing the information card here and then the timeline and actions. We are not going to create an opportunity right now. We're going to just do the contact, and I'm going to show you how the rest of this works. So we're on step number 5, the information view, the timeline, and the actions view. So what we went over was all the stuff that's on the left. This is the information side. This is how all of the stuff that we can use to contact them and to work with our contact. On the right-hand side, this is our timeline. This is the timeline and actions. What we're looking at here is the main screen we get by default is their timeline with all of the activity, including meetings, calls, emails, texts, incoming. Wait, what, Robert? Are you telling me that meetings are tracked, calls are tracked, emails, texts, incoming and outgoing, calendar events, notes, neighborhood searches, favorites, all of that stuff is available to be stored in this contact card? Why, yes. Yes, it is. If you effectively use all of the tools that are on this one page, you will always have the latest information and be in the know and never, ever miss a beat with any of your contacts. And I'm going to tie this into something that's coming in the near future because we can start talking about it now. We've known for a while that KW International was working on a new mobile app. That app has not been given a release date, but we do have a general fourth quarter kind of understanding that we're going to have a new app. Imagine having all of this in your pocket. Yes, you can put it in your phone now and kind of get to it, but they're going to make it a lot easier. Not having to pull out a tablet, not having to pull out your laptop. This kind of information at your fingertips is your own Google history for this contact. Can't stress it enough. If you're managing a business, why run around managing it in 45 places? You want one location, George Washington. Here's his card. Here's everything that's going on. All right. Now, on the timeline, it's going to start to collect all that information. The information it collects, as you saw, was meetings and activities. To add to these timelines, to add events, to add all this, we have at the top opportunities. We can create opportunities. Smart plans, we can add them to smart plans. Tasks, we can create tasks to assign to ourselves to remind us of things to do about this contact to make sure that we're staying in touch. Notes. Notes are just for us. They stay internal. They don't go anywhere. But this is a great way for us to track and keep information together about what we've discussed in the notes area. Saved searches. If we have gotten this contact to download our mobile app, then we now have a connection to them. We can see the searches that they have performed on the mobile app that will pop up here. And we can also create searches based on the information and discussions that we've had with our contact. And then we can say, here is a new search with a new parameters based on our recent conversation in this particular neighborhood for these kind of homes. Check them out. Let me know if I can help you get a showing. So these tools are available right at the top, but there's more. The plus sign down here at the bottom allows us to add another activity. We can add a meeting, a call, an email, a text, a quick note, just by adding this activity. So if I just add a little quick note and say, all right, spoke about Portsmouth. All right, so spoke about Portsmouth on what date? The 9th, because it's automatically populating with today's date. It's a quick note, and I'll just hit save. So now I have a quick note. That quick note is going to show up in my timeline. Spoke about Portsmouth. Boom. I can come down here again to this little plus symbol, and I can add a regular old-fashioned note, which may have some more detail. I can also schedule a calendar event. Check it out. I'm going to click it. Boom. Click calendar event. What does it do? It takes me directly to my calendar, and it automatically puts the calendar event on today's date at the next half hour mark for time. And it says a 1 hour meeting. Come in here, say, no, it's not going to be on the 9th. We're going to meet on the 14th. We're going to meet at, let's say we're going to meet at 10:30, and that's good enough to go. And we're not going to do it via Google. We're going to do it via Zoom. And look at this. It's already added the person, the contact, to the meeting. So you click save. It sends that information out. Boom, we'll go ahead and send it to our contact. And now that meeting has been added to my calendar for George Washington next week on the 14th to my Google Calendar. And if I come back to my contacts area, that information has now been added to the calendar, and I can view it. I can see all the activity. It's so cool that this information is tied together so well. I love this. Need to make a phone call? Click on the phone number. You can call again with your FaceTime audio, or if you're on your PC, there's several different tools that you can download to send out phone calls. Or you can just pick up your phone, make the phone call, but then log information about the phone call to the timeline. Spoke again, okay? And it will say, hey, it was a call. I added to the timeline, and now I have, oh yes, Mr. Washington, I spoke with you on the 9th, and I spoke with you at 10:56 a.m., and we did talk about that house over on Main Street. Want to send an email? Click on the email itself. And I always leave this up here because I want to show people what it looks like the first time you do it. You can actually delay or kind of bypass this little screen. But what it's telling you is that the recipient's email has been copied to the clipboard. And when you click continue, it's going to open up your email. It's going to open up a brand new blank email, and it's going to load it into the new message. And all you have to do is paste in the contact's name, type a subject, put in your information here, blah, 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 and then hit send. This email is now logged. Yeah, I can't get over how cool that is. And I'm not going to send this email. This is a great way for you to centrally manage what's going on with your contact. But it only works if you've got valid data and you've got complete data. It's so important to remember that. A lot of people that I work with, new agents especially, they're importing stuff from their phone or their Facebook or their Google contacts, and they're kind of a mess. Not going to lie. Sometimes we have to spend days cleaning out contact lists that are in your phone. They're a mess. You have seven versions of the same contact. All of them have different phone numbers over their course of their life and all this. We want to consolidate that and get it in together. But once it's clean and once it's in here, then you have a single source of truth. And it's very, very important that we get to that point so that we have that totally reliable communication system with our contact. Do not skimp. I know that this class was an hour long. We're coming up on 57 seconds to go. This class at 1 hour long, I showed you all of the things that you can do. To actually complete this process will take you about 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes per contact, assuming you have the right information. To do the import takes even less time, and we can import thousands of them at one time. But we need the information. You need the information to be right. You need the information to be reliable, and we want it to work for you. If you want more information, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is robert.vincent@kwclm. You can book time on my calendar at timewithrobert.com. You can, when we do meet via Zoom, you can meet me in my Zoom room at kwtechtv.com. And the live streams for YouTube, which if you want to rewatch this video, slow it down, pause it, you can watch that at kwtechtube.com. And this is the Contacts Heart of Your Database class. And of course, we are on Facebook live streaming. I see a couple of you in there right now and have made a peep. So hopefully you're enjoying this. The facebook.com/groups/KWCLM. That's where we're at right now. If you have any questions about what you've seen here today, please feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to kind of answer any questions that you have. Okay, so that's going to do it for now. I hope you guys got some good information. Take care of yourselves. And the next class this afternoon, that's going to be a fun one. What do we got this afternoon? I forgot what I said we we're going to do. We are doing, oh yeah, marketing and designs and campaigns. Marketing, designs, and campaigns. Come back at 2 o'clock on the YouTube channel, kwtechtube.com, or here in Facebook, and join me for that. We'll see you later. Talk soon.